Coming up on Global Business, China and Palestine announced plans to establish strategic partnership for economic and political cooperation. U.S. PPI data has just been released. We dive into the numbers. The four-day Carbon Neutrality Expo wrapped up in Shanghai earlier today. We take a look at highlights from the event. Hello and welcome to this edition of Global Business on CGTN. I'm Guan Xing in Beijing. And first up in the program, Chinese President Xi Jinping held talks with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, announcing jointly the establishment of a strategic partnership between China and Palestine. During the meeting, Xi expressed appreciation for Abbas' congratulatory letter on his re-election and emphasized China's firm support for the Palestine people's just cause. President Xi stressed that China and Palestine are good friends and good partners who trust and support each other. Facing unprecedented challenges in the world and new developments in the Middle East, China stands ready to strengthen coordination and cooperation with Palestine and work for a comprehensive, just, and durable solution of the Palestinian question at an early date. She proposed a three-point resolution to the Palestinian question, establishing an independent Palestinian state based on its 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital, meeting Palestine's economic and humanitarian needs, and keeping peace talks on track. Abbas thanked China for its support and expressed willingness to promote cooperation and the Belt and Road Initiative. After the meeting, the two leaders signed a number of bilateral cooperation documents. And China's foreign ministry has termed Honduran president's state visit to China as successful and fruitful. Wang Wenbin, the ministry spokesperson, said the visit opens a new chapter in bilateral relations between the two countries. Take a listen.
This is a trip that makes history, one that enhances mutual trust, and one that expands cooperation. China is willing to work closer with Honduras to implement the consensus reached by two leaders and to take bilateral ties beyond barriers towards a brighter future.
And China's foreign ministry announced on Wednesday that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will visit China from June 18th to 19th. Earlier today, Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang spoke with Blinken on the phone. Qin emphasized the importance of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation in addressing China-U.S. relations. However, he also urged the U.S. to respect China's sovereignty and refrain from interfering in its internal affairs, particularly regarding the Taiwan issue. Qin further suggested that the U.S. take concrete actions to manage their differences and work towards restoring sound and steady bilateral development. China has reiterated its intent to deepen reforms and increase economic openness by optimizing the country's business environment. The General Administration of Customs, State Taxation Administration, and State Administration for Market Regulation have unveiled their plan to promote fair competition, protect intellectual property rights, ease market access, and strengthen the unified market. The 16 initiatives launched by Chinese customs are expected to boost foreign trade confidence while stabilizing social expectations.
We pledge to improve the business environment for cross-border trade. Efforts will be made to improve the efficiency of cross-border logistics, support the import of advanced technology equipment and special items, promote the import and export of important agricultural and food products, facilitate export tax rebates, enhance the upgrading of trade processing, and optimize the supervision of border trade.
Moving on to some other headlines from around China. The Ministry of Finance has announced the issuance of the first tranche of RMB Treasury bonds for this year, amounting to 12 billion yuan, or about $1.7 billion US, in Hong Kong's special administrative region. The bonds will be issued in 4 phases throughout the year, with a total amount of 30 billion yuan. According to the National Energy Administration, China's electricity consumption reached over 722 billion kilowatt-hour in May, registering a year-on-year increase of 7.4%. The tertiary industry saw the largest increase in electricity consumption with a year-on-year increase of 21%. An official from the Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security has stated that China's demographic dividend is still in effect, while a new talent dividend is forming. As of the end of 2022, China's working-age population was about 880 million, with an average of almost 11 years of schooling for 16 to 59 years old. And now we're heading for a short break. Still to come on the program. The 4-day Carbon Neutrality Expo wrapped up in Shanghai earlier today. We'll take a look at the highlights from the event.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business, only on CGTN.
Welcome back. The 4-day Carbon Neutrality Expo wrapped up in Shanghai today, and this is China's first expo under such a theme. With nearly 600 companies from around the world attending the event, the expo has built a platform for all kinds of industries to cooperate on achieving sustainable solutions. Our Wu Bing has more.
Carbon neutrality is described as one of the world's most urgent missions by the United Nations. On the road towards carbon neutrality, every aspect of our daily lives could change, from what we use and how we travel to where we live. Statistics show that over 40% of carbon emissions in cities are generated by buildings. Apart from technologies proven to be effective in reducing energy, the use of digital platforms could be key to the future. Dr. Vincent Chang says real-time data is necessary to help operating teams understand how well the system is working.
So that's that sort of data, coupled with the kind of the development on 5G, IoT, and also what we call cloud-based kind of computing, can enable the kind of the power of AI technology, which I think is the futures of our decarbonization process.
And it's not traditional consultant companies eyeing low-carbon services. Some manufacturers that lead the industry in low-carbon transformation are also providing similar services. Schneider Electric has 17 net-zero factories in China and is aiming to provide services based on their experience through a project called Impact Maker.
We initiated the Impact Maker project in 2022, and we aim to bring together pioneers in sustainability, consulting, and digitization, and influence more companies. So far, almost 50 companies have joined the project.
To reach carbon neutrality will take broader ranging efforts from all parties, and the expo is aiming to become a platform to bring everyone involved to cooperate.
After China vowed to reach its dual carbon goals, the whole industry has been undergoing dramatic changes, and this trend will continue in the years to come. The transformation not only echoes China's high-quality development, but also reflects China's pursuit in protecting planet Earth for all mankind. Wu Bin, CGTN, Shanghai.
Carbon sink is an important tool in fighting global warming and achieving zero net carbon emissions. It refers to any activity or process that removes greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Basically, when plants and soil absorbs carbon dioxide from the air, they act as carbon sinks, which can help reduce the carbon dioxide buildup in the atmosphere. There are different types of carbon sinks, including forests, grasslands, and even the oceans. The Arctic and Southern Oceans are especially good at soaking up excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. But some foreign companies have expressed their continued optimism in China's investment environment and development opportunities, especially in the green economy. Our Aaron Liu takes a closer look.
China's announcement of carbon peak and carbon neutrality targets has garnered a positive response from foreign companies operating within the country. Many are seizing the opportunity to invest in China's new energy industry chain and further strengthen their presence.
This solar power, wind power, and many more is necessary as we are transitioning from the fuel-based energy to be a greener, new renewal, and also cleaner energy. And China is leading in this space. Dow is also participating in this market, which is an opportunity for us. So when there is transition, there is opportunity.
Multinational companies are collaborating closely with their Chinese customers to develop innovative materials and technologies to promote a circular economy.
Last year, we made a very big investment under a very, very challenging business situation. We started to build the first dedicated mechanical recycling production line to get started to produce very sustainable solutions to the downstream customers.
Standard Chartered Bank and the World Resources Institute are taking action to accelerate the low-carbon transition process by jointly releasing a special report on decarbonization pathways and how finance can accelerate the business transition to a low-carbon economy in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area.
We are facilitating $300 billion of sustainable finance to help our clients transition to net zero. GBA has world-class urban cluster, industrial cluster, and financial centers, which give GBA a unique advantage to become a world-class green finance center.
Taking one of the GBA city, Hong Kong, as an example, Hong Kong has a Hong Kong dollar 200 billion government green bond issuance program, with issuance today covering multi-currency, one of the longest dated government issued in Asia, retail green bonds which you and I can buy, and the latest tokenized green bond.
The report estimates that an investment of about $1.84 trillion will be required for the area to reach carbon neutrality by 2060.
But in the midterm, the energy efficiency improvement and the switching to the renewable energy in manufacturing and the building sector, and the modal shifting in road transport will be the top priorities to decarbonization.
Aaron Liu, CGTN.
Now, for more discussions on the Carbon Neutrality Expo and China's dual carbon goals, we're joined by Wang Kaige, professor at the College of Energy Engineering of Zhejiang University. Thank you for joining us, Professor Wang. So, how does the Carbon Neutrality Expo contribute to sustainable development and addressing climate change?
Thanks for the invitation. I think the first Carbon Neutrality Expo is one of the important measures taken by the Chinese government to promote low-carbon development in China. China has invested vast resources into the green technology in the past decade. China now is the world's largest investor in clean energy, accounting for over $550 billion last year. China is leading in many areas such as electrical cars, wind energy, solar energy, and nuclear energy. However, China is still the world's largest developing country. The economic development has not been decoupled with the carbon emission. As the world's largest energy consumer, the CO2, the greenhouse gas emission in China last year is over 12 billion tons, or around 33% of global total. As China races toward its dual carbon goals, it faces many challenges in meeting growing energy demand while reducing carbon emissions. The first Carbon Neutrality Expo is really important to address those challenges. First, I think the Expo offers an opportunity to showcase for the latest technology and the solutions for carbon reduction. It provides a platform for researchers from both academic and industrial areas to share their knowledge and exchange ideas. More than that, I think it also serves as a communication platform for policymakers from different countries to discuss policies and regulations related to the carbon reduction. This expo, I think, is also a great opportunity for China companies to seek overseas customers, explore overseas markets. The expo may also be helpful to raising public awareness of carbon emission and climate change. Thanks.
Indeed, and the expo brings together all the parties. And what are the potential benefits of cross-field cooperation and innovative projects through participating in the Carbon Expo by experts, businesses, and governments?
From my understanding, carbon neutrality is kind of transformation of the whole economic development model. It will bring opportunity to almost every industry, every company, and even every individual. Meanwhile, it also poses challenges must be solved by cross-field cooperation. For example, within the framework of carbon neutrality, there is a discernible shift of financial resource toward the green sector. Anticipated growth in the market scale of the green finance requires innovation on finance theory, evaluation of the green asset, business model, laws, regulation policy, among others. Cross-field cooperation is indispensable in these emerging areas. Thanks.
And what are some of the critical elements required to achieve carbon neutrality goals, and how can worldwide cooperation be enhanced to promote ecological development?
Thanks for the question. From my point of view, as a scientist, I think innovation is the key factor. Reducing carbon emission from 12 billion tons per year to 0 tons per year in just 30 years from 2030 to 2060 is an impossible task without adapting disruptive technologies in many areas such as smart grids, distributed energy systems, low-cost and long-term energy storage solutions, waste management systems, and upcycling technologies. Cooperation, I think, is another key factor. Cooperation in both scientific and governmental levels are really important. Climate change is a common crisis facing by the people all over the world. Global cooperation, global carbon emission trading, global markets, carbon markets, and other global cooperation mechanisms is like a highway for countries to join forces and work together toward carbon neutrality. For the technology side, I think the researchers are facing common scientific and engineering challenges, requiring solutions from multiple disciplines. Scientific and technology collaboration with our counterparts from the United States, Europeans, Russian, and many other countries will speed the technology development while avoiding waste of intellectual resources. Thanks.
Indeed, all the countries should work together in this regard. Well, thank you very much for your analysis. That was Wang Kaige, a professor at the College of Energy Engineering of Zhejiang University for us. And now we're heading for another short break, still to come on the program. U.S. Producer Price Index for May increased 1.1% year-on-year, falling below expectations.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
Now, time to look at the latest numbers on the U.S. economy. The PPI in May rose 1.1% on a yearly basis, lower than expectations. And for more on this, we cross to our correspondent John Terrett in New York. Hi there, John. Good to see you. So, what factors contributed to the lower than expected increase in the PPI for May, and how will this reading impact inflationary pressure on the U.S. economy?
Hi, Guanjing. Welcome to New York. Well, we've had the numbers out just in the last couple of minutes, and what's important about this number is that the Federal Reserve, the central bank, is meeting right now in the attractively named Eccles building in Washington, D.C. to make their decision in a few hours' time about what to do about U.S. interest rates. And PPI will be key to that decision, just as CPI, consumer inflation, was yesterday, Tuesday. Now, just briefly, PPI is less important than CPI. CPI is what Americans pay in the stores and the gas stations month over month, year over year. PPI, there's somebody in the way. You know, this is business inflation, wholesale inflation. And if you are, for example, I don't know, garden furniture maker, if your steel price goes up or your wood price goes up, you as that producer cannot, if you wish to, pass that on to the customer necessarily. That's why it's not quite as important as CPI, but it is still very important. Don't let me mislead you. So wholesale business inflation then in the month of May, the final demand in May down 0.3%, which is good because it had been up 0.2% in April. The core came in flat at 0.2%. That's when you take out food, energy and trade. And year on year, as you rightly said there, 1.1%. We've been expecting 1.5%, so that's very good. And the core is 2.5%. Now the markets are reacting. The Dow is down 80 points. The Nasdaq's up 6. The S&P 500 ahead by 3. And the bond markets are booming. And so now CPI and PPI will very much factor into the Federal Reserve's decision at 18 hours GMT today, Wednesday, middle of the night where you are in Beijing and elsewhere in Asia. And based on this, just like yesterday, I'm predicting very limited, no change probably from what they started out yesterday, Tuesday, when they began their meeting, to the point that they deliver the news this afternoon. I'm suspecting there'll be no change in what they have thought and what they decide. Guanjing?
Tell us a bit more about the Fed reaction. Why you're predicting no change? Because all the people are watching. Indeed, there is a possibility about the rate hike or even a reduction. What is your take?
No, well, you see, you're so much more sensible than I am, Guanjing. That's the thing. I just think I know everything, and I probably don't. So, you are absolutely right. It may be that they hike by 25 basis points in a couple of hours, but I don't think they're going to. I really don't. I'll tell you why that is. I said on this program a month ago that they'd done raising interest rates. I think they're going to pause, or skip. The reason is we have strong jobs, but we've also got slowing confidence, threat of recession, banking issues quite likely around the corner. 90% of Wall Street professionals polled over the last couple of days think there will be a pause today. I think we would have heard. They would have given us little whispers if they were going to increase, and we haven't really had that. So the pause will come after 14 months of raising interest rates to bring down 40-year high inflation. And the theory here is that they may well raise again by 25 basis points when they meet in July on the 25th and 26th, when they will have much more data. But anyway, I'm predicting a pause, but don't hold me to it, because I might be wrong. But I don't think I am.
Well, thank you very much for your analysis, and that was our John Terrett live for us in New York. Well, the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, one of the largest business events worldwide with over 25 years of history, kicked off on Wednesday. Our correspondent Josa Milankovic has the latest updates.
What we know so far about this 26th St. Petersburg International Economic Forum is that around 130 countries or representatives from 130 countries are actually here at this forum. And what I can say as a first-hand witness, comparing to the last year's situation here at the forum, the situation has dramatically changed. We are seeing a lot more of optimism among the Russian businessmen here. I spoke with a number of them so far since this morning, and everybody are sharing the same opinion that they are more optimistic about the state of the Russian economy and the future of Russian economy. They are saying that Russia is moving much more or much faster towards east than expected previously, and the severing ties with the West did not hurt the Russian economy as expected. The Russian President Vladimir Putin, who will be here on June 16, will address that far more details during the plenary session. It is always the highlight of the St. Petersburg Economic Forum.
The European Union is leading the way in regulating artificial intelligence as a bloc's parliament is due to vote later today on the proposed AI Act. And Mark Webster reports from Brussels.
What is happening is broadly on two levels. You're seeing at national level all of the big players, China, the United States, the EU, all looking at their domestic arrangements to see what they can put in place, which does at least regulate the industry, but doesn't prevent their own economies from developing additional applications. So, for instance, China's already said that it wants to come up with an alternative to ChatGPT. You've got to have a second, more global level. And what's interesting here is that the United Nations is saying, look, if member states want it, what we could do is set up a global organization, rather like the one that currently regulates the nuclear industry. And that would then look at possible infringements of what is generally considered safe development of AI. It would obviously look for rogue players and make sure that nothing was going wrong there. But I think critically here too, what the United Nations is suggesting is they do not want the tech industry to be the leader in this game. They believe the tech industry would do anything that is possible, not what is sensible.
Moving on to some business headlines from around the world we are following at this hour. The UK economy saw a 0.2% month-over-month increase in April, rebounding from a 0.3% drop the previous month. The growth was mainly attributed to the retail and film industries, while the manufacturing and construction sectors weighed down the overall expansion. Meanwhile, in Germany, wholesale prices dropped by 2.6% year-on-year in May, marking the largest decline in nearly 3 years and indicating a continued easing of inflation in Europe's biggest economy. And in India, wholesale prices fell for the second straight month in May across all sectors, with a 3.5% decrease compared to the same period last year, the steepest decline in nearly 8 years. And that will do it for this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. Thank you for being with us. Until next time, bye for now.